And now an author panel on religion and culture from the 2007 Los Angeles Times Festival of Books, filmed live earlier today. At this event, you'll hear from Jonathan Kirsch, author of A History of the End of the World, and Zachary Karabell, who wrote Peace Be Upon You. Also, God is Not Great author Christopher Hitchens. This is about an hour.
Of course, there's a book signing that's following this. Isn't that why we're here? So let me begin by introducing people who you probably already know. We have with us today Christopher Hitchens, all the way at the far left, who is...
Thank you.
Terrific writer and a decent human being who's here to promote a book that is already number 12 on the Amazon list, and
10.
It's not even out yet. 10. It's not even out yet. That's unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
Mine are all out. It's nowhere on Amazon. The title of the book is God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything, which is a book about, I think you know. It's fairly self-explanatory. He's here in some ways to provide his own book of Revelation. Speaking of Revelation, my good friend Jonathan Kirsch is here, who reviewed my last book so favorably in the Washington Post. I'm here to be his body man.
That's how to make friends in the book business.
He is here to discuss his book, A History of the End of the World, How the Most Controversial Book in the Bible Changed the Course of Western Civilization, which is essentially a book discussing the book of Revelation and the way it's been used and abused in the name of apocalyptic fanaticism. And then, of course, last but not least, the dapper and always handsome Zachary Karabell, who is here to discuss Peace Be Upon You, the story of Muslim, Christian, and Jewish coexistence. And this book, we'll get Zachary to talk about it, is really discussing what many people don't realize, that over the last 1,400 years there have been periods of time in which Jews, Muslims, and Christians got along fabulously. So let us begin. We all know by now the term of art, the clash of civilizations. And we also know that we live in an era of religious extremism and fanaticism, and there are some people who believe that religion and faith are responsible for these clashing conflicts between civilizations. So our panel here is here to discuss whether religion and culture can mix in any meaningful way. Now, Christopher, we'll begin with you. Your title is very revealing on its face, and one wonders whether, given the title of your book, whether you have any particular religious philosophy that you wish to denounce, or should we just say that you are an equal opportunity infidel?
Does this mean I don't have to take a shot at the actual panel question? I'm willing to try it if you like. I came open-minded and prepared. Well, to answer your question at least, I'm with Bertrand Russell on this point. I mean, there is, in theory, nothing to choose between any kind of religion or any version of it. My way of phrasing it is that they're all, in their separate and wonderful ways, equal glimpses of the same untruth. And therefore it needn't particularly matter whether you're a Quaker or, say, a Mormon or a Shia Muslim or a worshipper of the Emperor of Japan, because the illusion is the same in each case, and the demand that you surrender what is, in my view, your most precious faculty, that's your ability to reason, and your ability to practice self-doubt and self-criticism and skepticism. That, in other words, that you will take something on faith and expect to be praised and respected for doing so. We do it all the time ourselves. You hear it all the time on television and in American politics. People are praised for having faith, just for having it. Doesn't matter what it is. In fact, President Eisenhower said, it's really important to have a religious belief, and I don't mind what it is either. Because just the ability to surrender your mind is enough. Well, I know that I'm going to have to put up with a lot of this, and I know that it is innate in us. That's true. It's not something that can be extirpated or that should be extirpated, as long as our prefrontal lobes are too small and our adrenaline glands are slightly too big. And we show all the other signs of what Darwin calls the lowly stamp of our origin. We are half a chromosome away from chimpanzees, and our religious beliefs show that. Religion is what you would expect if it had been made up by such a tribe. For all that, I know one can't ever get out of this argument. Indeed, all I can hope to do is keep the argument going and see if I can inject any stuff into it. But what I do think we can contest, and must contest, is the idea that this irrationality needs to be respected or revered. That's asking too bloody much, if you ask me.
Jonathan, I thought that the New Testament was all about love, meaning love, mercy, and forgiveness. And it was about loving thy neighbor, not seeking vengeance against thy neighbor. So what is essentially irreconcilable about Christianity and culture in this way? If the religion is really about love and kindness, what's so irreconcilable about them?
Well, every word I've written about the scriptures of Judaism or Christianity is based on the idea that we read these texts too selectively and not critically enough and not discerningly enough. And that's the reason why we often think things are in the Bible that are not and are surprised when we find them. Revelation, which is the favorite text of a great many believing Christians today, is an outlier in Christian scripture and is plainly contradictory to the message that Jesus teaches in the Gospels. All of my books, including my current book, are meant as a corrective to these, what I would argue, are misreadings, misunderstandings. To get into it a little bit with Christopher, I think I have to say that these texts are capable of inspiring elevated moral aspirations and conduct in human beings, demonstrably so. And to throw out religion altogether or to hold it in contempt and not in respect is to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Having said that, there's just no question that the book of Revelation is the favorite text of religious violence, at least in the Christian context, and has moved men and women to do some terrible things, David Kirsch being an ardent reader of Revelation, but only the most recent example of that phenomenon. The bottom line is that these are potentially inspiring texts and also potentially dangerous texts, and we have to be able to discern between those two uses of the same text.
So, Zachary, what's gone wrong? 1,400 years, we've had periods of time that we learn in your book where the three religions tolerated one another and coexisted, and yet we have a panel here that's here to discuss the way in which these three religions are inimical to culture.
You know, first of all, it's kind of interesting that we're organized in the light and dark fashion here. I feel like we should be in the forces of light and forces of darkness, but the panel's not lining up that way. Well, the Christopher is clearly torn.
It's not. Cool.
I think that, you know, if we had been here 100 years ago, we wouldn't have been having this debate, because the cultural assumption 100 years ago was that religion was going to quickly become a quaint, rather backward, private, silly, but tolerable force in the affairs of public life and human existence. And I think that bears remembering only because now we seem to be in a cultural moment where religion has become the convenient bogeyman of the day to explain and to some degree excuse all sorts of human irrationality, violence, and ugliness. And you know, I realize in retrospect, with my book hovering very near where Christopher's is with 3 zeros affixed to the end, that you know, had I been a little savvier about the culture du jour, I should have called the book something like "Religion Doesn't Matter," because the point, I think, is that the notion that one can either respect or disrespect or believe or disbelieve in religion, and religion I'm talking about not as a set of beliefs, simply religion as an observable, unequivocally present force in human history, is a little like arguing for or against race or ethnicity or the dawn, in that it simply is. And like anything that has survived the test of time as a category that helps human beings organize themselves and may or may not be true in any of its particulars, it allows for a wide variety of human behavior, from the most sublime to the most mundane, from the most transporting to the most depressing.